Self-proclaimed misogynist Andrew Tate has appeared at a prosecutor's office in Romania for a second day as the criminal investigation into his alleged human trafficking and rape continues. The violent and chauvinistic world of Andrew Tate went viral on TikTok before he was arrested at the end of last year. He's been criticised for radicalising teenage boys, but he's always denied being anti-women.
I say what I think, and I'm a realist. And if some of my views, based very firmly in absolute professionalism, by extension, absolute reality, come across in a misogynistic tone, then that is your problem.
Well, the sight of online influencer Tate, handcuffed and escorted by police, may lead some to think that there could be light in the dark world of online abuse against women. But charities are concerned it has in fact left a vacuum for copycats to take his place. Well, for more on this, I'm joined tonight by the psychologist Stephanie Jeans, who's an expert in porn addiction. But first, let's speak to former Love Island contestant and ambassador for Refuge, a charity for women and children experiencing domestic violence, Sharon Gaffka. Sharon, welcome to the programme. It's great to have you with us this evening. I want to talk to you about how you are treated by men, because you are in the spotlight, you're in the public eye, you're also, of course, on social media. I mean, how is it different online and in real life now?
I think online, the messages or the types of messages I get are more graphic or violent because there's a level of anonymity they can hide behind. Unfortunately, now what I'm starting to see is that in particular groups of people, it's moving away from being online and more in the street.
Oh, really? So people are coming up to you now when you're, out and about, at work, at the gym? What kind of things are they saying to you?
So in my personal experience, it's generally groups of teenage boys. They must have seen something on the internet, mainly TikTok. You know, a lot of people say, oh, it's probably because they recognise you from TV. Actually, in a lot of these instances, I'm wearing my hood up, I'm walking back from the gym, you can't see my face, but they're using a lot of quite sexually graphic language towards me. And, you know, if they're in their school uniform, it's safe to admit they're under the age of 16.
So teenage boys, often in school uniform, using that kind of aggressive language. I mean, do you think that they're being influenced by people like Andrew Tate, you know, seeing this stuff on TikTok, thinking that that's normal and just picking it up and directing it towards women?
Yeah, I think it would be unfair to put all of the blame on Tate. I think like you said earlier, there's a vacuum of other influencers come in because they've seen the financial success that Tate has had off his misogynistic influence. And I've seen a rise in lots of different people, self-proclaimed relationship coaches, for example, that actually have very misogynistic undertones. And I'm even hearing from young women online that their partners are taking what they're seeing and putting it into their relationships as well.
So it's becoming almost coercive control?
Essentially, yes.
And when you're talking about some of the graphic things that happen online, I mean, people may be sat there, they may not have experienced this themselves. What we can be talking about is dick pics, people sending pictures of their anatomy unsolicited. I mean, how often does that happen to you?
I think the last time I gave like an actual figure on it, it was roughly on average 3 a day. I think the more that I talk about misogyny and issues that are facing young women, there is a massive increase. And, you know, I always used to sit there and wonder why I was receiving these images. And I don't think it's that, you know, they're hoping to get some kind of reaction or like a photo back. It's more that they're trying to assert their dominance and control over me and trying to deter me from talking about what I do talk about. And that's the way they go about doing it.
Well, let's bring Stephanie in, because Stephanie, I mean, you understand really what's going on in young people or men's brains, often is men we're talking about here, when it comes to doing that kind of thing. What is it that makes people think it's acceptable to send pictures of themselves naked, unsolicited, to young women?
Well, I think it's just become the culture now, as Sharon was saying, what happens online. I deal in the area of pornography, and everything is about instant sexual gratification. I think young boys are learning what intimate relationships are through what they're looking at online. And of course, that's about sex. It's about the mechanics of it, the nuts and bolts. It's nothing to do with intimacy or closeness, what relationship means, getting to know somebody. And so I notice in my young clients, they start talking online. They're not in person for the most part. And almost immediately they are being sent pictures and solicited to send those in return. It's just almost as if that's what they need to do. That is our understanding of how we engage and connect with another young person.
And Stephanie, what Sharon was talking about there was that, you know, there's evidence anecdotally that some men are taking this kind of behaviour that they're seeing on TikTok into their own relationships. Is there a link between what people see online, that kind of misogynistic behaviour, and coercive control and domestic violence?
I would completely agree with that sentiment from what I see in the therapy room. And it seems to be a case of looking at online pornography, for instance. A lot of it is just male domination and female humiliation. A lot of it is around choking or gagging with, you know, blowjobs where, you know, women literally are choking. That goes into the bedroom, but with very sad consequences, not just for possibly their female partner who is expected to perform in the ways that a porn star might, but also the boys themselves are having performance anxiety, erectile dysfunction because they can't perform unless they're looking at pornography. But then that creates upset. Certainly the idea of misogyny or abuse or control can come into play. There's also an element really where it's just immensely sad. Yeah. Because a young person who's gaining their sexual script from what they're looking at online knows no better, in essence.
Sharon, I'd like to bring you back in just to conclude, because some people might be watching this and feeling a bit desperate and wondering what can be done. Now, you've been a prominent backer of the online safety bill to be introduced in Parliament. Do you think that that's the solution to this problem?
It's very hard to say what the actual solution to this problem will be, because the internet is an ever-growing monster, but I do think it's a step in the right direction. However, I do think the online safety bill doesn't go far enough in terms of protecting women. You know, you've mentioned that I'm an ambassador of Refuge. I've worked with a lot of female organisations that specialise in domestic abuse that have asked the government to put in a proper code of conduct for tech companies to go a little bit further in protecting women. Obviously, this code of conduct will protect everybody online, but it just happens to be that women are 27 times more likely to be victims of deep fake pornography. And I've said on numerous occasions that I feel like a sitting duck waiting for it to happen to me.
That's a terrible feeling. Sharon Gaffka, thank you for joining us.